Coming up now in your spoiler-free wrestling news rundown, the rift within Bullet Club was on full display on night 2 of the New Japan Cup Tour. Also, we've got all the fallout from AEW Revolution on Sunday night, and Vader has been announced for the WWE Hall of Fame. Subscribe to Spoiler-Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news. It was a big weekend for Bullet Club. They had matches and angles take place in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, and All Elite Wrestling. Things started out for them on Saturday in Louisville, Kentucky at Impact Wrestling's Sacrifice. 2 matches involving Bullet Club members took place on that show. The first saw Jay White take on his former trainer Alex Shelley. And leading up to this match, White had noted in promos that he is not the same person who Shelley helped train, however. White was able to counter out of Shelley's Motor City stretch into a Blade Runner and picked up the victory on the show. After the match, Shelley extended a handshake to White, but King Switch laughed and walked away without shaking his former trainer's hand as the commentary team continued to mention that this is not the same White who Shelley would have known in the dojo back in the day. Next up for Bullet Club at Sacrifice, we saw the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, look to defend the Impact World Tag Team Championships against Eric Young and Joe Doring of Violent by Design. This match came a month after Anderson and Gallows only retained the titles against the Guerrillas of Destiny due to interference from Jay White. Well, they weren't so lucky on this night. Young hit Gallows with a low blow on the stage area and gave him a pile driver, taking him out of the match. Young then got back in the ring and along with Joe Doring hit a powerbomb neckbreaker combo on Anderson and got the pin, and they won the titles. This was kind of a surprising loss for the Good Brothers given that they are in a major angle right now. It was a bit of a surprising result. Bullet Club was also active on night 2 of the New Japan Cup, where multiple multi-person tag team matches took place on this night involving Bullet Club members. In the first match involving Bullet Club, the team of El Phantasmo, Gato, and Chase Owens defeated Togi Makabe, Tomoaki Hanma, and Tiger Mask. After pulling out the victory, there was some dissension amongst members of the group, however. This time it was Chase Owens who was getting on Phantasmo for his hesitancy to use a super kick. Phantasmo has been reluctant to use the move dating back to Wrestle Kingdom, where it was discovered he had been loading up his boot with a metal plate. Gato was able to get the two to settle down, but things took an interesting turn when everyone went for the Too Sweet hand signal after the match. If you remember from night 1 on the tour, Phantasmo went to give the Too Sweet signal up high, like Jay White had said to do recently, but Bad Luck Fale and Taiji Shimuri then went low with the Too Sweet hand signal. Phantasmo eventually did give the low Too Sweet hand signal as well. Here, on night 2 of the tour, it was Gato insisting that all 3 of them give the Too Sweet hand signal up high. Chase Owens seemed to be quite uneasy about this. Phantasmo also showed a little bit of hesitancy, and there was some bickering in the ring between the 3. Ultimately, they did give the Too Sweet up high, but Chase Owens really didn't look okay with it, and Phantasmo looked a little conflicted as well. Gato, who has been accompanying White to the ring for matches in Japan since his association with Kazuchika Okada came to an end, seems to be firmly in the Jay White camp, however. Things would continue for Bullet Club. The never openweight 6-man tag team champions, the House of Torture, dropped a match to Hiroshi Tanahashi, Taguchi, and Master Wato, so that could potentially set up a title match in the future. Then later it would be Bad Luck Fale and Taiji Ishimori taking on the Great Okan and Jeff Cobb, and this match is important for Ishimori and Okan as they will meet in the second round of the New Japan Cup. So in this match, Ishimori hit a low blow on Khan while the referee was distracted, and Fale followed it up with the grenade and got the pin. Now after the match, Fale and Ishimori hesitated a little before giving the Too Sweet hand signal, but ultimately decided to go down low with it. defying what Jay White had called for. Given Fale is related to Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, it's hard to see him siding along with Jay White here. Chase Owens was also at one point an honorary Tongan as well, so perhaps that will play into where his allegiance will land. Then late Sunday or early Monday morning, depending on the time zone you're in, was night 3 of the New Japan Cup, and we will cover that in Wednesday's video. There were also 2 matches on AEW Revolution on Sunday night that involved members of Bullet Club. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, were unable to win the AEW World Tag Team Championships in a triple threat match against the champions, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, and their longtime rivals / sort of teammates right now in Red Dragon. Fish and O'Reilly are firmly aligned with Adam Cole, who is definitely in the Elite, and has said he made an oath to be Bullet Club for life when he brought Jay White into the promotion. The Young Bucks are also aligned with Cole, and were previously aligned with Cole in Bullet Club before AEW came into existence. They are loyal to Kenny Omega, however, who has a long-standing rivalry with Jay White. So it's not clear what side everyone is going to land on when Omega returns from injury. Speaking of Kenny Omega, his manager Don Callis returned on the AEW Revolution pre-show and teased that when Omega returns, he's taking his rightful place as AEW World Champion. Then in the main event of AEW Revolution, it would be 2 prominent members of ROH's Bullet Club faction squaring off for the AEW World Championship. Fitting, considering Tony Khan just purchased ROH. In the end, Page would retain his title in the Battle of the Atoms, and we will just see where Cole, Fish, O'Reilly, and the Young Bucks go in AEW from here. We'll also see if Jay White returns to the promotion shortly. Staying with AEW Revolution for a bit, it was a huge night for the promotion, and there was plenty of news coming out of the pay-per-view. Perhaps most notably, William Regal debuted for AEW at Revolution. He came out following the match between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. Now, Moxley and Danielson had an extremely intense battle that saw Moxley busted wide open. Danielson had Moxley in a triangle choke. However, Moxley was able to reverse it into a pinning combination and got the surprise 3 count. Danielson, not feeling as though anything had been resolved after the match, they kept brawling until William Regal came out and separated them. Regal then slapped both of them and made them shake hands. And now we're wondering if William Regal is going to help align the team of Moxley and Danielson, and maybe they'll add more wrestlers to their stable in the near future. Tony Khan would announce after the pay-per-view that William Regal has been signed to the promotion. He will have both an on-air role and duties behind the scenes. Also at AEW Revolution, we saw a bloody dog collar match between CM Punk and Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Now, keeping with the Ring of Honor theme, CM Punk came out to his old Ring of Honor theme music and looking much like the Second City Saint from his time with that promotion. And these two had quite the match until ultimately it was Punk who was able to get the victory. Wardlow came down to ringside. MJF asked him to give him the diamond ring. Wardlow feigned like he could not find the ring. MJF turned around and ate a go-to-sleep from Punk. Wardlow then found the ring, placed it on the mat. CM Punk then hit MJF with the ring, pinned him, and picked up the victory. Also of note, after the match, Punk was on the turnbuckle and started motioning about a title belt. He gave the old title belt around my waist motion, perhaps indicating that CM Punk is looking to challenge for the AEW World Championship shortly. There was also some news that came out of the pay-per-view's opening contest between Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. Now, Jericho is looking mighty slimmed down as of late, but he started to antagonize the crowd here a little bit when they were cheering on Eddie Kingston. So Kingston started off the match with a Saito suplex, dumping Jericho on his head, and that would give him the advantage throughout the match. Jericho would miss a Judas effect and hit the exposed turnbuckle in the corner, thus allowing Kingston to lock in a variation of an octopus stretch and get the submission. Now, after the match, Jericho was supposed to shake Eddie Kingston's hand as he had said he would do in promos leading up to the match. However, Jericho said he couldn't do it and walked away without shaking Kingston's hand. And so there's some argument here that Jericho has turned heel. AEW also unveiled a brand new AEW Women's World Championship belt at Revolution. Dr. Britt Baker was able to retain said belt against perhaps her toughest challenger to date in Thunder Rosa. Of course, it was almost a year ago that Thunder Rosa defeated Britt Baker in a lights-out match to headline an episode of Dynamite. But because it was an unsanctioned match, that bout technically does not count in the rankings. However, Thunder Rosa will have a chance to get back into the title picture. She's booked for a number one contenders match on AEW Dynamite this week. She'll take on Layla Hirsch. Layla Hirsch picked up a big victory on the buy-in before Revolution, defeating Chris Statlander. Arguably one of the most noteworthy moments to take place on the entire pay-per-view saw a big spot in the night's second final match that saw Sting, Darby Allin, and Sammy Guevara take on the Andrade Hardy Family Office team of Matt Hardy, Andrade El Idolo, and Isaiah Cassidy. Now, you would think with Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara in the match, and Matt Hardy for that matter, that it would be one of them that would take the big bump in the match, but instead it was 62-year-old Sting diving off the balcony and through a set of stacked tables. Can you believe that Sting is still doing this stuff at this stage in his career? It was a big night for him and Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. Speaking of Sammy Guevara, the TNT champion is booked to defend that title Wednesday on Dynamite against Scorpio Sky. Also at AEW Revolution, Tony Schiavone revealed that AEW has signed Shane Swerve Strickland to a contract. He will be starting with the promotion shortly. The fans in Orlando certainly knew who he was when he asked the crowd whose house it is. They all responded that it's Swerve's house. Following the pay-per-view on Sunday, Tony Khan spoke to the media for the first time since announcing that he had purchased Ring of Honor. And so there were several questions directed at the AEW president about what his plans are for the promotion. Khan noted that he's still very much in the preliminary phase and not everything is completely ironed out. But he did emphasize that they will continue to run events. Of course, Ring of Honor is Supercard of Honor coming up on April 1st. They've also booked a set of television tapings at Philadelphia's 2300 Arena for later that month. So Khan did say they are going to continue operations. He also unveiled that he's going to be the booker. He said, I'm going to be the booker, and there's a reason for that. Because I will be bringing in young wrestlers, and they have a lot of young wrestlers, and I think we're very successful here, and we're doing very well here. There should be a Ring of Honor, and I think I've got the resources to present a better version than anybody else can. Now, when you think about the wrestlers AEW has under contract that have a history with Ring of Honor, it's pretty staggering when you think about what they could do. A Ring of Honor show featuring names like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, the Briscoes could happen in the near future, and I think that's pretty exciting to a lot of fans. WWE announced the second name to be inducted into their Hall of Fame class of 2022. It is Big Van Vader, or Vader, real name Leon White, will be going into the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, the world lost Vader in 2018 at the age of 63. He left an indelible mark on the world of professional wrestling. Of course, in 1987, his debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling is the thing of legends. He came out and challenged Antonio Inoki and then beat Inoki in under 3 minutes, causing the crowd in the Sumo Hall to riot. The aftermath from the show was such that Sumo Hall actually banned New Japan Pro Wrestling from running events there. However, that ban was lifted in 1989. Vader would go on to sign with WCW, where he was a huge star in the early to mid 90s, including in 1993, when he spent most of the year as WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and then faced Ric Flair in the main event of Starrcade 93. Vader would also go on and wrestle with WWF from 1996 to 1998. He would challenge Shawn Michaels for the WWF Championship at SummerSlam 96. He would then return to Japan for All Japan Pro Wrestling after his WWF run. So Vader will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2022. And that'll do it for this video, everyone. Subscribe to Spoiler Free Wrestling for all your wrestling news.